Hello, everyone, and welcome to Looking Up. We are so glad you've joined us for another episode of this podcast that is intended for Christian women. I hope that it will be uplifting to you. Kathy and I always pray every week that the things that we say and the things that we talk about will be things that will be edifying, that will always point us to look at God, to see the good things that He's done in our life, and to see what we can do to help others be Christians and to be Christ-like. And that's what our goal is for this podcast. So my name is Carla Moore, and I'm joined by Kathy Pollard. She is over in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I am in my office in beautiful Colorado right now. And it snowed all day yesterday, and it was icky and cold and slippery and gross. And today the sun is shining. The snow is melted, at least in the parking lot, not on the grass. You know how that is. It's just so beautiful today. So thankful for that, because sunshine just makes you feel better. How are you?
Good. What a smooth intro that was.
Thanks.
Sounded
Try to make it something different than usual.
You sounded so suave.
Thank you.
You're
I've
welcome.
never been called suave before.
We have sunshine here today. Well, actually, it's dark right now. We don't usually record at night, but we have sunshine here today too, but it's pretty chilly. It stayed below freezing all day.
Yeah. Well, I know we've been keeping in touch with Jordan and Aaron, our oldest son, and his family, because they're participating in the Katy Rodeo today. Emmy's riding her horse in a little parade. It's just blows my mind to see my 6-year-old granddaughter on this big old horse. But anyway, she was all bundled up and in a coat, and her little cheeks and nose were red, and a hat underneath her cowboy hat. And it's like only, I don't know, 3 or 4 degrees warmer there than it is here. And here, when it's cold, it doesn't feel that cold, but there. So it's just kind of strange for it to be that cold down in Houston, Texas. They don't get cold very often.
Yeah, she seems awfully little to be up on a big horse. How is this possible already?
Well, she's kind of fearless, and she did a little horse camp last summer, and they realized how that's kind of her thing. And they've been looking for something that's her thing. Middle children, they kind of need something that's their thing. And
Right.
it's so fun. I won't do the grandmother thing, but it's just fun to see this teeny little body, because she's petite as they come. And she's up on that big old horse, and she's fearless. Aaron sent me a video of her doing barrels yesterday. She's 6,
man,
controlling that big old horse. Just goes to show you, that Bible verse that talks about the bit in the horse's mouth being controlled by something small. So
that's a will it illustrate.
I didn't even get together a will it illustrate. So let's talk about that later. I'll bring that up. Will it illustrate? Yeah, but Jackson is doing mutton busting tonight too. So I can't wait to see some video of that.
Cute.
Yeah. So what's going on over there in your neck of the woods?
Well, it seems like it's been a while since we've talked, and that's not true.
2 whole days.
But since our last episode, we went to the Freed Hardeman lectureship. We celebrated Neil's birthday. We babysat grandchildren, and we've had baptisms, and it's just been a wonderful week. Oh, Carla and Gary came over today because Carl is tapping maple trees.
Didn't they do that last year? I think I remember you talking about that.
I don't remember them doing that. You must have been thinking, you're confusing me with your other friends.
Okay. My other friend with a son named Carl.
Well, he's already tapped trees on his own property. He found several, and they're sugar maples, which is even better. And he already did a little practice batch, boiled it down to the syrup, and he said best maple syrup he's ever had.
Wow.
So then today they come over to see, and we really only have a couple. Surprisingly, we don't have a lot of maple trees on the property. And he was also looking for hickory, or we have a black maple, but not black maple, black walnut, but it's dried up, so he couldn't use that one. So
my only reference for maple syrup tapping is Laura Ingalls, and I have in my mind a picture of her standing. I mean, there's drawings in the books with a little spigot in the tree. Is that what it is?
It's exactly what it is. And it's funny, several years ago I bought a tap because when we moved to a friend place in Colorado, we had the 2 huge maple trees in our front yard. And but I never used them. And because when you boil it down, first of all, it takes a ton to even get a little bit of maple syrup. And when you boil it down, you have to do it outside or you'll get like sticky stuff all over your house from it just going into the air. And so I just never did it. And here's Carl, researching it, getting interested and just doing it. that's that's what I said. That should not surprise me. You process your own deer, you make your own bacon.
Makes his own bacon?
He just did. He just made his own bacon. Yeah. So
did he butcher a hog?
He didn't butcher a hog. He cured the pork. I'm not even sure what
pork
cut
belly
of. Yeah, I guess. So
well, cool.
Yeah.
I have all kinds of breakfast stuff. Now he just needs to master sourdough so he can have sourdough toast and his own maple syrup and his own bacon.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun. It sounds like a lot of work, though.
It is a lot of work. Yeah.
So Gary's helping him?
Yes. They were, I don't know what all he did at his property, but he was going around with them today. Gary just got a truck. It's an old, the date on it, I believe, Neil and I were engaged.
Wow.
So it's a
80s, 90s,
91, early 92. I'm not really sure. So it's older than Gary because Gary was born in 93, but it is a great truck. And
good for him.
He and Carl will be working on that together and spiffying it up, but he was driving that around on the property while they were looking for maple trees to tap. So they had a
Did I see that Carl is trying to sell his truck?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, maybe one of our listeners might be interested in that. Maybe we can share details of it next week or something.
It's a good idea. It's a good truck. It's a big truck. Yeah. It's a guy truck.
Yeah. Is it the one with the train whistle for a horn?
Oh, probably.
I would have to remove that. That would be
you don't like that?
A little obnoxious.
Well, is the generally more your style?
No, just the
beep beep.
Yeah, just a generic honk honk. Toot toot.
Oh, yeah. No tooting.
I had a friend that whenever I would drive up for ladies' Bible class, this was years ago, and when you lock the car, it goes beep. And I walked in and she said, "I knew you were here. I heard you toot." All right, that's enough crass behavior. We're being boorish.
What have you done this weekend?
Well,
or this week?
We went and saw The Chosen, the first 3 episodes on last weekend, and it was so good. So good. And I know now that they've moved it from the first 3 episodes. Now you can go see 4, 5, and 6. And then I think at the end of the month, you can see the last 2 episodes, and then they'll put all of them for free online somewhere. But it was really good. And we did that on Friday night. We went on a hike with Brian and Shannon Ketchum last week, since we recorded last time anyway.
Where'd you go?
Somewhere up in the mountains, but it was on a paved. It was a sidewalk type place, it was up in the mountains. It was actually a place that John and I rode our bikes last year that we were not prepared for because it was a lot of uphill. And so we had to actually use our spikes on our shoes because the ice on the sidewalk.
Oh, I see.
But I'm sure you've been there. It was somewhere between here and Idaho Springs, and Brian found it. But it's just so pretty. And the ice, there's ice in the river below, and it was real pleasant. So then we went and ate at Bojo's. So all of the work that we did for the hike, we ruined it on pizza. But
it's all just an excuse to eat at Bojo's.
Always, anytime you go up in that direction.
Right.
Yeah. Did you order any seeds or anything this week?
Yes. Thanks for reminding me. I did. I finally ordered some seeds. Tried to be very disciplined with it. I always get all excited about, I want to try this and this and this. And I tried to be realistic and just order things that I think we would actually enjoy, with the exception of radishes, because Neil doesn't eat those, but they're just so beautiful and pretty and they come up quick. So I ordered a different variety anyway.
Yeah. I thought about you this week. We had luncheon at Ladies Bible class, and Lisa Ripperton made a spinach salad that had radishes in it. I didn't eat the radishes, but the spinach salad was really good. But she went so far as to pinch the stems off of all of the spinach, which made me love her even more because I don't like stems in my spinach.
That's a labor of love.
It is. I mean, she didn't do it for me, but I was glad that she did.
Maybe she did do it for you, Carla.
Well, if she did, she didn't know that I don't like stems. The older I get, the more I think I realize that I have a texture issue more than a flavor issue. Things that I don't like are their textures. And I don't know why. That's just weird. One of my weirdnesses.
Just like a toddler.
You know what we're going to talk about today on this episode?
Friendship.
Friendship.
How to sink a friendship.
Yeah. Friendship killers.
Friendship killers. I'm just giving us some fodder to work with later.
Yeah, thanks.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for that. You're doing that on my benefit, right?
That's right. I'm thinking of you.
Yeah. So we just got finished with a marriage weekend. You know, we do these marriage seminars, and I just hate that term because it sounds so boring. Marriage seminar.
True.
And you know, it was with the Bear Valley students.
What should it be called?
Well, that's what I tried to ask for some help with that, and I just never got any good answers. I mean, we ended up just saying marriage weekend.
Love growth party.
I do not like that one. Marriage. I don't know. Anyway, we just called it marriage weekend, and it was good. Last night we went to Nicolo's Pizza right there on the corner of Wadsworth and Jewel, and we met a really sweet couple that have just bought the Nicolo's Pizza last year, and they live really close to Bear Valley, so we're hoping that we might see them again.
Oh, and
nice. So they have that room back there. I don't know if you ever visit it, but they have a banquet room, and they don't charge to use the room as long as you obviously buy your food there. So we met there last night and had 25. And then today we had a few less because there were several that were preaching out this weekend. So they had to leave early and get there. But today we went over, and we had one of our members lives in a little community that has a little clubhouse. And so we went over there just to get away from the building because the students are at the building all the time. And it was good. Wes and Terry and Wayne and Shanna Kay were there. And so it was good to have their input. And we had a good number of students, and we're pooped, but it was worth it. It was good.
Well, I know they benefited greatly. Did you and John fight beforehand?
Actually, we did not this time. Usually we do have some kind of an altercation.
I know.
Not an altercation, just a little tiff.
Maybe it snuck up on you and you didn't have time to.
We were too busy this week. We did not have time to do any fighting. Thankfully. I'm glad for that. Anyway.
Well, very nice.
Yeah.
So you've had a full week.
Yes, it's been a good week, been a full week, but
more to come because you're hosting tomorrow.
Yeah, got a bridal shower for Bailey Jones, so that'll be fun.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
That's
She's getting married right after. It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, when you've known someone since they were itty bitty, and then all of a sudden they're getting married. And Garrett too. You've known Garrett since he was quite young, I'm sure. Yeah, it'll be good. Anything else you have going on you want to talk about, or should we move along?
Let's just move along.
Okay. Your house looks so different in the dark.
It feels different too. Yeah, the lighting's not very flattering.
I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking that your kitchen has usually got sunshine coming in from the kitchen window. But
yeah, and I had to turn the kitchen lights off because it was creating this weird glare down the middle of the screen. So
it looked like a halo. You should have left it on. Yeah, I'm trying to build into this, sort of talking about friendship and how we can build one another up and love one another. So you look beautiful tonight.
Thank you. So do you.
One of the top friendship builder uppers is sincerity. All right. So
are you being sincere? Or is this...
Do you think I'm being sincere? All right. So this topic tonight that we're going to talk about, we just decided we're going to kind of let it organically happen. Sometimes we have topics that we have outlined, and we've got things that we've really done a lot of preparation on, and sometimes I feel like the ones that I like the most, or the ones that I enjoy the most, are the ones that we don't do so much, have point number one, point number two, whatever, even though I think some of those are good too. But
Mhm.
if I do say so myself, but that sounded really snooty and I didn't mean it that way at all.
Oh, I know what you meant.
Okay. That's a good friend. Anyway,
Oh,
we, we just thought we'd talk about some ways that we can build one another up through our friendships, and maybe some tips for not killing friendship too, and who makes the best friends. And so we're just going to see where it goes from here and see how it develops. So I had kind of, in my brief time of preparation, jotted a few things down, and I was just thinking about some friends that I have, and just how, when I look at this list of friends, they are all New Testament Christians, and they are all women that I trust with my life. And I've learned so much from so many different women. Now, sometimes even with a good friend, you realize some things that are not so great, and that it's still valuable information,
mhm.
um, or a growing experience maybe. But I was just trying to think of some of the things that made me value a friendship the most. And one of the things that you said, and you said it differently than how I wrote it down. You said a common faith, and I think that is something that we can't overemphasize how important that is, because it just, at least for me, and I know for you and for a lot of people that I know, sharing that common faith, you have so much in common. You know what your common goals are. I know what's most important to you. You know what's most important to me. And it just makes for a meaningful friendship more than what I consider surface friendships that we tend to have with people who are in the world. I don't know. Am I making that clear? Am I just.
Yeah, yeah. It's to me, it's the most essential ingredient in any relationship, friendship or otherwise. And part of the reason is because that means we have the same handbook that we're using as a
Mm-hmm,
guide through that relationship. But the most important things are important to you and important to me when we have that same relationship with Christ first.
mm-hmm.
What are you laughing at? What did I say?
Nothing. It was
What did I
nothing.
say?
It wasn't you at all. I'm sorry. There's things going on, and I'm in a dark church building by myself. And
Hey, is the boogeyman showing up at the
no, I
building?
locked the door, but when I start hearing
Oh,
things, it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyway,
yeah.
so common a common faith, that would be at the
Mhm,
very top of the list. And
mhm,
I think you have a level of comfort because you talk the same, you just have the same interests. You have what's important to your family.
mhm.
Excuse me, what's important between you and your husband. Our husbands get along because they also share a common faith. So that is the number one thing I would say for
Mhm.
a friendship. But there were other things that I wrote down, like the level of comfort that you feel with someone. And I don't know, can you manufacture that? I know that it comes with shared experiences and time, but I don't think you can't just say I'm going to be comfortable with this person and it happens automatically. Where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I've never thought about that before, but I can see how we could put effort into making someone comfortable with us, trying to do our best to put someone at ease
Mm-hmm.
and make them comfortable, but I don't know. I don't think you can manufacture me personally being comfortable in a relationship. Seems like
Yeah.
that's something that would grow as the relationship grows, or
Yeah. Because I don't
maybe.
think you can force a friendship really. I mean, you can
Mhm,
be friends with anyone, or you can have a relationship that's friendly with anyone. But
mhm,
as far as that level of comfort where there's just some people that you are instantly at ease with. And then there are
mhm.
other people that you're not.
Right.
There's just certain people that it doesn't matter how long I've been around them, I'm gonna stick my foot in my mouth, or at least I feel that way. And it's probably not as bad as I think it is, but I can't help it. I just think, oh, what am I going to say today? And so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm setting myself up for doing something or saying
I
something stupid.
I know exactly what you're talking about. There are certain people that I love, but being around them brings out the clumsy in me. And it's not even their fault. They are not doing it to me. It is all me.
Exactly. And I'll say something and I'll think, what did I just say?
What in the
How did
world?
that come out of my mouth? What does it even mean?
Why do I always sound idiotic around this person?
But what puts me at ease with some people when I do that, they're like, oh, well, I understood you perfectly. Or, no worries. I have the same issue sometimes, just people that put you at ease. And I think those people are, they know how to read a room, or they know how to read
Oh, yeah. That's a
how
good way to
you
put it.
feel. They just
Yeah.
tend to make people put people at ease, no matter
Mhm.
what situation you're in. But I also thought about laughter, because to me, that's just something that helps develop friendships. And that too is not something, unless you're just a naturally funny person. And even that sometimes can be too much. You can cover up your discomfort by making jokes, cracking jokes and stuff like that. But I think that just comes with shared experience too. And when
Mhm.
something happens and you fall in front of someone, or you do something silly and you laugh at yourself and they realize it's okay to laugh with you. But
Yes.
I mean, that's something that I value between us, is that we laugh, but yet we also know when to be serious and when it's
Mhm.
not a time to laugh, except when we're recording a podcast and you think that I'm laughing at you, and really I'm not, because I'm sort of afraid of my surroundings and my situation.
It's a nervous laughter.
Yeah, exactly. So laughter. I mean, I think that a sense of humor is
Mhm.
something that helps friendships. Um, I think sometimes you you feel comfortable with someone who has the same, it, going along with a sense of humor. Just maybe you understand sarcasm, and you
Mhm.
both crack the same kind of jokes. Or
Mhm.
there's some people that you just send memes back and forth with. And Michelle Massey and I do that all the time. We send jokes to each other, and it's just a different kind of sense of humor. And I know what's going to crack her up, and she knows what's going to crack me up. And we just do that all the time. But just things like that, I think are fun. There's certain people that know a lot about you and love you anyway. And when you know that someone, when you're able to tell them things that are down in your heart and that are hard to talk about, and maybe it's a confession that you're having to make, or if it's a difficulty that you're encountering, and you know once you get past it, your friend that knows that about you and doesn't use it against you, that's a good friend.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think you can't put a price tag on. It's important to me. So how do you make friends? How do you make friends with somebody?
Are you going to answer this question? Is this a
Well, I have
rhetorical?
some ideas, but I thought I'd let you talk for a little while, friend.
Well, I feel like I'm naturally likable, so I really haven't had to put the effort out there.
See, sense of humor.
No, you make friends by showing an interest in people, a
Mm.
genuine interest in people, and let them know that you see them and you love them and you want to get to know them. You enjoy being with them. Your time is valuable, but you're willing to give it to them. Those things.
Yeah,
Intention, yeah.
intention and
Mhm.
attention too makes a difference.
Attention.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was thinking of that verse that I learned in the King James. It's the Proverbs 18:24. A man that hath friends must show himself friendly.
Mhm.
And when you read it in the ESV or a New American, it'll say, a man who has friends is friendly. So I think if you want friends, you have to be friendly. But
Mhm.
I was just kind of considering, when you see someone new coming into the church building, what do you do? I mean, I know what I do. I get nervous and I make a fool out of myself, and I can't remember their name after they tell me their name. But once we get past that awkwardness, I think you start asking them about themselves and you show an interest in them. And it's kind of a scary thing to do, to ask them to lunch, but maybe you ask them to come with you and another couple or something. And that's kind of like the beginning of a friendship. And it's fun to look back on those
Mhm.
when you don't know someone very well at first, but later on you become friends and you can look back on the very beginning of that baby friendship. I love
Yeah,
that.
well, what I think is interesting is that we never really know where it's going to go.
Mhm.
And, but giving everybody an opportunity, like you say, of course, we're going to be friendly to everybody, but we're talking about building a friendship And you just never know. Sometimes, you've been in ministry and you know that when you meet new people, sometimes you see somebody and you think right off the bat, I bet we're going to be good friends. And maybe you end up not being good friends. And the opposite is true as well. There might be somebody that at first you're not too sure about,
Mm-hmm.
and they end up being your partner in crime, your dearest friend. So God knows where it's going to lead.
Yeah.
We don't. And sometimes it surprises us.
Mm-hmm. And I think not having that assumption, when we
Mm-hmm.
look at someone to think one way or another, just let your common faith
Yeah.
spark that the beginning of that friendship. So what are some things I kind of jotted this down, what I appreciate about some of the good friends that I've had. And I think, of course, on top of that shared common faith, one of the things that I thought about was the fact that these friends are the same no matter what's going on in their life. And I don't mean that you can't be sad if something sad is going on, or excited, or maybe even, if there's grief in your life, things like that, but not the kind of person where you think, okay, who am I going to get today when
Yes.
you get on the phone with them, or when you're with them, or you greet them at a worship service. So someone that's the same, because that's kind of hard when
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what to expect.
Yeah. Somebody that runs hot and cold, and sometimes they're warm and sometimes they're distant.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just don't know what's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you develop that friendship, you can just say, well, there's something going on that she didn't want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about. Maybe she'll tell me later. And if not, then extend grace and don't worry too much about it, because it's most likely not about me. And that's kind of, I was thinking about this. Usually stuff like that is because we're all focused on ourselves. What did I do? What is it about me that put her off, or something like that? And usually it's just something going on in their life.
Like
So
that quote
maybe
that says, we wouldn't worry so much about what others thought of us if we realized how seldom they did.
that's a little hard, but it's very true.
Yeah. They're probably
Yeah.
not thinking about it at all.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Like, really, I can't believe you're not thinking about me all the time.
Hmm?
Yeah. What about, I was thinking about someone who encourages a spiritual relationship, between the two of us, and my spiritual relationship, my relationship with God, someone who enhances that. And, just to put it bluntly, to have friends who share the same faith, but share the same desire to have that be first in our lives, and not just a shallow, and that sounds kind of judgmental, and I don't mean it that way, but someone who's not all in. And I enjoy and I treasure friendships from other people who are just all in with their spirituality. Just makes a huge difference to me.
Yes. When I think about the people that I love and appreciate so much, they're the ones that you don't have to wonder. You know that if what you're going to ask them to do is service related, they're still going to be as excited about doing that with you as they would going out to lunch or getting together to play cards, or
Mm-hmm.
they're just as willing to jump in and roll up their sleeves and work alongside you, and they're reliable that way.
Yeah.
And it just makes it doubles the blessing in the moment to be able to do that with a friend and know that they're going to be on board with that.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Supportive. I think about people who are supportive of things that you have going on in your life. If you're struggling with something, and they can maybe not just have a solution,
Mm-hmm.
but just knowing that someone cares about you,
Mm-hmm.
or you have a new business venture, or, just whatever's going on in your life, someone who's supportive is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that rejoices when we rejoice, and cries with us when we need to cry. Someone like that. Something that's important to me is someone who has a good relationship with my husband, that, like, the four of us enjoy being together. And that, something like that is kind of, it's not super normal. I don't, that sounds funny. I don't mean to say it like that, but it's kind of hard to find a friendship with a couple where you and your husband enjoys him just as much as you and I get along. So that's something that is important to me and valuable to me. Someone who's honest but kind at the same time, can say, I love you, but there's something on your nose, right? Something like that, that's honest, but it's also kind at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then what have we learned maybe from some difficult relationships that we've had? I don't think that you necessarily were following the same line of thinking, so you might not have prepared something like this, but I mean, you've been around long enough to have had some difficult relationships in your life.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've killed a couple of friendships. We were talking about maybe getting to friendship killers. I've killed a couple of friendships, and one was unintentional. It just happened. Something happened, and then the friendship dissolved, and I didn't mean for it to. And then one was all on me, and
On you, or that
no,
you
it was my fault.
intentionally?
I didn't intentionally kill a friendship, but what I did killed a friendship.
Oh,
And so, but when I think about difficult friendships and growing through that, I think it's the same things that you've just mentioned with knowing someone's past, but extending grace. Well, just like with our relationship, I can't really think of any bad moments that we've had, but you've seen me at my not so great moments, and you don't bring it up. We just work through it and we move forward. And I think in a difficult relationship, if you've had to do that together, in a lot of ways, it just grows stronger and it forges that relationship into a more solid relationship because you've had to stretch and grow. And think about that in the church family anyway, because there's so many different personalities in the church. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. There are going to be personality problems and things to work through as you're getting together as a spiritual family. But when you're willing to do that, you're stronger as a church family. And I think the same is true for friendships too. If you don't give up on it and work through it, I think you find that your relationship is stronger than ever.
no, it's kind of like a marriage, that you've made a commitment
Yeah.
to your marriage, and it doesn't matter what happens, you're going to work through it. And I think, obviously it's not quite the same with just a friendship because you don't have that same level of commitment. But when you intentionally make up your mind that, it doesn't matter what they say or what they do, we're still going to have this relationship in Christ. So I need to do, it's following the things that make for peace, and doing what we can to have unity and to be united in Christ. So, but still, sometimes there are just things that happen that we just don't enjoy being together, or we just aren't compatible. But it doesn't mean that we aren't friends. It just means that we're not gonna hang around together, and we might choose someone else to have lunch with or whatever. So it's kind of a hard thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes feels like a breakup, doesn't it?
It does. In my mind, I always think of it as, you love everybody, but not everybody's going to be your pal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And God made us that way. God made different personalities, and you can't force something, and sometimes it may down the road may change, and circumstances may pull you together again. I've had a relationship that was with someone that was a very strong personality, and it was at a time in my life that I wasn't weak necessarily, but I was still kind of making my own opinions and my own style and my likes and dislikes and things. And this person, and I loved her, and I still do, but I think that she influenced a lot of the ways that even things that I liked. I would gravitate towards that kind of style. Excuse me, because I knew she liked it and I liked her style. And so I thought, well, I'll do that too. And there were other things too, but when we just naturally over time distanced ourselves, I kind of realized that it was too much. It was too overpowering for me. And I almost felt like I could, my eyes had been opened. And I don't mean to make that sound like it was any kind of a bad thing. It wasn't. Right. It was just kind of eye-opening that I felt like I had my own opinions, course, I'm talking about opinion things and not scriptural things, not
Right.
things that God talks about, but what I liked for my house to look like, different ways that I was going to raise my kids. And it felt in some ways like a breakup. We got tickle now, but it also, when I got some distance, I almost loved her more because I didn't feel that pressure to be like her. You ever had a relationship like that?
No, no. But I've had a close, somebody close to me has. I don't want to share
Yeah.
who that is.
Well, you know what I'm
But
talking
I
about
know
then.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything necessarily on the other side that she should have done differently, because that's just her personality. It's just that I needed to grow myself. I needed to grow my own, just become who I was becoming, because I was fairly young at the time. And I had this tickle that's gonna nag me. I need a big spoonful of honey. So you talk for a while. Sorry.
Well, when I think about certain friendships that I've grown through or grown beyond, I think some of the ones that have kind of faded in the background were the ones that just took so much work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't work on our relationships, because we've already said that. You want to give them love and attention and time, of course. If it's an important relationship to you, you'll take care of it. But you know what I'm talking about, where you feel like you're always not quite measuring up, or trying to figure out what's wrong. What did I do this time? How have it just always feels like something wasn't quite where it needed to be. And I'm sitting there always trying to figure out what's amiss. What did I do? What did I not do?
Yeah, that takes a lot of
That,
emotional toll.
yeah. And after a while, you just think, if your friendship is feeling that forced,
Yeah.
maybe it's not meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I was thinking about as a relationship killer is being manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I think some people don't realize they're doing it, but they have an agenda. And even if it's not a, not a terrible agenda, but they want something and they're going to use you to get what they want. It's kind of hard to say that's not a bad thing, because it really does not feel good to feel like you're being manipulated, or you're being used to get to someone else, or you're a stepping stone to get to someone that they really want to get to know. And that's happened in the past. And so I don't enjoy that at all. Or I think sometimes people just naturally they might be pessimistic or cynical or whatever, but they belittle others as a joke. They'll say, I'm just joking. Come on. It's just a joke. And I don't get that. I'm not going to be drawn to that. I'll be friendly to you, but I'm not going to want to be friends with you if someone's like that.
I was going to mention that also, because that affects how I feel. Even if the joke wasn't against me, sometimes people are good about mocking others, all in the name of fun. And I might laugh and it might be hilarious, but when I walk away from that conversation, I don't feel good about myself.
Yeah, feel icky.
And feel icky. Yeah. And so relationships that are so good are the ones where when you walk away from that phone call or that time spent with them, you just feel refreshed. It's been good for your heart. It's been good for your soul. You don't feel icky about anything. So the other side of that is whatever it might be that's coming into that relationship, whether it's husband bashing or gossip or, whatever it might be, if it makes you feel like it didn't bring out the best in you, then that's not a good relationship.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of made me, when I was kind of following thoughts that I was jotting down, it made me think of self-awareness and how looking at these things, do I do that to people? Because I know sometimes I can be pessimistic or cynical, and I don't want to rub that or try to rub that off on other people. There's times that I can be jealous. I mean, I think that's a relationship killer, is jealousy. And you want to feel confident in your relationship with people, but you also, and I know we've talked about this before, but there's just something about when you see one of your friends doing something with someone else that it's, you start wondering, well, why didn't they want me to do that? Or, and you just don't know. You don't know why did they choose them over me, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a choice of me or them. It's just, maybe they just enjoy that person too. And that person invited them to go do something. And anyway, we won't go down that road too much, but that can really be a relationship killer. But being self-aware about how do we make other people feel? How do I make someone else in my presence feel? And so I was looking at some different ways. How do you develop self-awareness? If you can't fix what you don't realize you're doing, or you don't understand, or if you're not aware of it, so how can you fix it? One of the things that was suggested was to know what triggers you. And I think that word is so overused. I mean, I hear people talk about my triggers.
Yeah.
I'm feeling triggered right now.
Or trigger warning.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, I understand that it really is a legitimate thing for some people with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's become, it's just been watered down so much that what you're saying is, this is something that annoys me, or this is something that I don't like, and so it feels more legitimate to say it's a trigger that makes me feel this way. So all that being said, know what it is that makes certain people get under your skin. And I guess just kind of analyzing, like, what is it why do I walk away from conversations with this person not feeling so great? Is it that they, like you just said, are they talking about someone else in a negative way? Is it that they, and when someone does that about someone else, then you start wondering, do they do that about me when I'm not, when they go talk to someone else, are they talking about me? Is it the sarcasm that kind of gets under your skin? I think I've told you before that impatient people really make me impatient. I get so frustrated when someone is, I mean, I realize, like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because I'm being very impatient with people who are impatient. And I can be that way, but that's, for a silly way of saying it, that's something that triggers me when someone is very impatient. I'm just don't like that. So that does not make me a very patient person. So I don't know. What do you think? Know your triggers. What are your triggers?
Well, I was just, as you're talking about that, I thought, what are my triggers? And I think people that are always caught up in drama,
Yeah,
with other people, and then I thought, what do I have a problem with? It drives me crazy if someone's overly sensitive.
Yeah.
And you have to walk on eggshells around them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which made me think, I know that I can be overly sensitive myself. And, but in the moment, I think that the person I'm talking to doesn't know that. I feel like I'm handling things the way I should, and I'm responding the way I should, and maybe I'm laughing at whatever was said. It's when I go home, that I'm like, oh.
That's when we overthink,
And
right?
yeah, mulling it over in my mind and
Mm-hmm.
being sensitive about it. So I know that that's, something that I struggle with. But there's probably something I'm not self-aware about, and I still haven't figured it out, because I cannot tell you how often people will come up to me after a conversation. They'll come up to me later and say, I feel like I owe you an apology. When I said blah, 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 I didn't mean blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking, I'm like, I never even took it that way,
Mm-hmm.
and so it kind of makes me wonder, what is it about my face
Yeah.
when people are talking to me that makes me look like I'm taking something the wrong way, that they
Yeah.
feel the need to come around later and say, I think I owe you and I'm like, I feel like I'm always saying, I'm
I
glad
know
you
what you're
could
talking
joke with
about, though.
me. I am not that
Mm-hmm.
thin skinned. And I'm thinking, do I look like I am? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess there's still more to learn.
This is semi off the topic a little bit, but it made me think of it. Do you ever find yourself mentally wandering from a conversation
What were you
about
just talking
maybe
about?
that was predictable? But if you are, I don't know, if something you say reminds me of something else, like, oh, I forgot to do something. And so your mind starts going off on a different track, but yet you're still trying to focus on them. But you find that you're like just staring blankly at someone. And then you realize that they're looking at you kind of funny. You're like, oh, sorry. Could you just repeat the last 4 minutes of what you said to me? Because I was somewhere else. But that's something that we just do. It's just human. And it's not that we're trying to be insensitive or we're trying to not pay attention. It's just that I can't keep track of two conversations, the one going on in my head and the one going on with you at the same time.
Well, and we really just can't take it personally. I feel like that happens to me all the time. And in my mind, I'm a very dull person because, when you ask somebody, how are you doing? And they tell you about your week, and then they ask me and I start telling them, I feel like I lose them right off the bat, just gone. And I'm just like dwindling away because they didn't really, and part of it is, I think I start talking about peaches too much. Because they'll say, how's peaches? And I'll answer, and I'm like really telling them. And then I'm thinking they probably didn't want to know all that.
Yeah. You just like narrow it down just a little
bit. I'm supposed to just say, oh, she's good. Nobody cares about all the other stuff.
Well, they're really good friends do. But we have to learn how to filter ourselves, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
I try to do that with talking about grandchildren. At some point, I just don't want to be the grandmother that's no one loves them like I do. I know the other grandparents do, and of course John does, but I mean, it's just a fact. So,
well, and again, isn't that kind of the gauge, the difference between an acquaintance and a friend? Because if acquaintance asks you about something, you have to kind of figure out, do they really want to know, or are they just being polite? Like, how much am I sharing here? And
if it's a friend,
if it's a friend,
we just say that to them though? How much do you really want to know?
No, I don't think
we can't.
No,
that's out of the realm of
might
friendship.
Be awkward. Yeah, okay. But with a friend, they keep up with your life, and here's the latest. Here's the latest happening.
Well, that's part of being self-aware, I think, because when you start seeing people's eyes glaze over, or they're looking around like, somebody please help me, come rescue me,
I'll catch myself going off into the extra details, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm going, nobody cares, shut up.
You're talking to yourself in your mind.
I'm talking to myself. Yeah. Like when you do the whole thing of, what day was that? It was Tuesday. No, it was Thursday. And I'm like, who cares? Just get on with
it. Doesn't really matter.
Just get on with it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll say gently to John, that part doesn't really matter. It's okay. Just move on.
They don't care.
Yeah. So again, we're back to self-awareness,
Yes.
It's just being aware of what people are interested in or not interested in, or if we're revealing too much of ourselves, which I think we do quite often. But some people are okay with that, other people are not. But I think it's just I don't know if it's a talent of being self-aware. I really don't know if that's a talent. I think it's something you can develop, though.
Yeah, maturity thing, probably.
Maybe so. Also, it said to become or to develop self-awareness, you should prepare yourself for it. This sounds so clinical. Prepare for interactions by thinking ahead of time how I will manage my emotions.
Oh.
And I think that makes sense, but I have to boil it down to something that I can understand. So if I know I'm going to be around X person, okay, normally when I'm around X person, this is how I feel. So if I feel impatient with that person, I prepare myself ahead of time. And I mean, I really do think that's kind of helpful to think about. Okay, here, what's something that I can do to head that off at the pass? Maybe I can ask them about this, or I'm going to keep the conversation positive. Sometimes there's certain people I'll say, okay, I'm going to do what I can to keep this on the up and up instead of devolving down into something that's negative. And so, I don't know, that's kind of a self-awareness thing, is to prepare ahead of time.
Yeah, it's like the proverb about the man who has no rule over his spirit is like a city without walls. That takes intention and thinking about it ahead of time. You don't wait until you're in the moment of whatever the motion is and go, oh, I will decide to handle this.
Yeah, well, it's being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah. I think especially if you know what your weaknesses are when it comes to those kinds of things. But like you say, impatience.
Yeah.
So what if mine is insecurity or jealousy or whatever it might be.
Yeah. So, I mean, thinking ahead of time, I just think that that probably would head off a lot of problems by being in, I don't know, intuition is also something that it's kind of the same as self-awareness, but some people have it and some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do still think that you can want to be that way and you can do things to try to help yourself become more that way. Um, it also says to pay attention to your emotions as they occur. Now that sounds, I've heard people say this, and I know there's probably a lot of truth to it, but I don't find myself going, oh, I feel mad. Because then if I did that, I really would be like staring off into space while someone is talking to me over here and like, considering. Now that's kind of self-centered,
Mm-hmm.
self-absorbed to have, to so I don't really know. Maybe somebody can suggest how to pay attention to your emotions while at the same time staying engaged with the person that you're having conversation with. So it also suggests tuning into others. So to me, that's another Christian principle that just means be interested in other people
Mm-hmm.
and ask them about themselves, and um, instead of launching into what I'm doing and what I'm feeling and what I like or don't like, we ask them and be genuinely interested in someone else.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really feel like the best form of self awareness is to be focused on the other person.
Yeah.
Because if you are, then you will be paying attention already naturally to if you're monopolizing the conversation, if you're always talking about your own problems, if you're one upping, whatever it might be, if you're focused on the other person,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it'll kind of naturally cull through all those other things that we might struggle with.
Yeah. I think sometimes we are at a little bit of a loss knowing what to say to show interest in someone else without coming across as creepy or stalker or something like that. But I think you can do that. Where John's the master at this because his dad was. Where are you from originally? My kids would laugh because John says that all the time to people. Where are you from originally? Where'd y'all meet? But people love to talk about themselves. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that
Yeah.
that's what they know the most, and that puts them at ease because they're comfortable with um you don't have to, oh, I don't know, where was I born? Most people know all things about themselves. Where did you go to school? Or just maybe some people really have a talent for finding these questions that really draw out other people from their shell or
Mm-hmm.
just make them feel at ease and at home rather than just talking about self. And I think, again, we revert to what's comfortable to us when we're in an uncomfortable situation, and that what we're comfortable with is talking about me. So we kind of just have to like constantly pull it back, turn it back around, and ask them about them.
Have you
But
ever
and
met
that,
somebody that never talked about themselves? I mean,
I don't
almost
know.
to the point of it's really hard to build a relationship because they will never, they always ask about, they always ask about you and your family and your whatever situation and your blah, blah, blah. And then when you come around to, what about you? Oh, good.
Are they just private
How was
or
your week? Good. And I don't know a lot of people like that, but I do know some people like that. And I'm sure they are just private, but it makes it really hard to grow beyond any kind of superficial relationship when they
hmm,
never ever
open up?
talk about themselves or divulge or share. Mhm.
Hmm. I'd have to think about that because I don't know if I've ever encountered someone that is that I mean, I know private people, but usually you can get things out of them that are not sensitive information.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to have to, I'll be going around tomorrow at worship, like, who here is not talking about themselves?
You'll be like, nope, not that person.
But how do we know that we are good company? This is another self awareness question. How do we know that we are good company?
uh, how do we know that we're good? That's a good question.
Yeah,
What's the
I
answer?
think you're good company.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know. How do you know if you're good company? People seek you out, maybe?
People can be sought out for different reasons, though.
Yeah,
Hmm,
I don't know.
I don't either.
Well, am I good company?
Yes, for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Then that solves that question. But am I good company? That's maybe something to think about.
Hmm.
What makes when maybe to answer it, you ask yourself, what is it about other people that I enjoy being around? And do I exhibit those qualities? Another self-awareness question.
Well, how do people feel about themselves after they've been with you? Would
Yeah.
probably answer that question.
Yeah. That is a good way of thinking. But how do you know? I mean, unless you call someone up and say, how do you feel? We just spent an hour together. How are you feeling right now?
Just call them up and say, "Am I good company?"
Then we sound pathetic,
No.
needy, and clingy. And those are not good things in relationships either.
Again, if you have to try that hard,
Yeah.
probably not a natural, comfortable friendship to begin with.
Mm-mm. No.
All I know is I have a handful of friends, people in my life that make me feel like I'm easy to love. And it has nothing to do with me being easy to love. That's just how they make me feel. And they make me feel like they look forward to seeing me. They smile when they see me and they enjoy being in they just make me feel that way.
Mm.
And I look forward to seeing them. They're the people that will say to me, and I know we've mentioned this before, but I prayed for you.
Yeah.
Or they'll text me, I just prayed for you. And sometimes I go, really? It just, wow, that means a lot to me. And
Mm-hmm.
that handful of friends that bring that out in me, pray for me, think about me in spiritual ways, that's such a dear, dear blessing. And
Mm-hmm.
that I thank God for and hope that everybody has that. Everybody has somebody like that that God has blessed them with, and hope that I'm offering that for somebody.
Yeah.
That I'm reciprocating or even doing those for other people. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe the key to a lot of this is less of self and more of the song comes to mind, less of myself and thinking of other people more than you
Mm-hmm.
think of yourself. And that's really hard to do. It's something that we have to decide we're going to do and be intentional about and, pray about, because it's really important to have these relationships and to develop them. And like you say, it's just there's something that's invaluable about those kinds of friends. And they, I don't want to say they're few and far between, but sometimes they really are few and far between. And so when we have one, we want to hang on to it and do what we can to enhance it and to strengthen it and develop it. But
Yeah, and
just
there's such huge blessing in hanging out with Christians and
yeah.
spending time with fellow Christians. And God gave us that blessing. He gave us our church family, and we need to take advantage of it
Mm-hmm.
and not isolate ourselves and stay to ourselves, but seek opportunity. You guys are good examples of that. You're always doing things with other people, hiking, going out to eat, having people over. You're spending time fellowshipping with Christians, and it can only enrich your life.
Yeah. Well, when you want to be around people, some
Mm-hmm.
people just don't want to be around people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure exactly why, if it's because they're shy or I don't know. I don't know why it is, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that way. I like being around people. I mean, there's certain times that your people meter is beeping at you to go home
Mm-hmm.
and go to bed. But
Right.
yeah, well, and the comfort of being in the Christian family, and when you walk into that room and it's full of Christians and you just feel safe. And in a world, it's almost like I've described the home as being like a tornado shelter, but I think the Christian home, meaning in a larger sense, the Christian family that we have within our local congregations is a tornado shelter as well, because
Mm-hmm.
in a world when you walk out the door and you just feel like, I'm not talking about physical safety, but your emotional safety and your sanity and your mental health. And all of those are the things. People are ghosting you and they're manipulating you and they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
use you and they want to get your money and they want to rob you. Or and even if it's not terribly bad things, out in the world, those relationships are just different. They're just, they don't have any of the depth that you have with your Christian family. So, yeah, we need to do what we can, be around the Christian family that God's blessed us with. It's just comfortable too. Should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just, you made me think back to, what night was that? Wednesday night it was after 10 o'clock when we had one of our baptisms this week. And, a handful of people drove back to the building and helped this dear lady put on her Lord in baptism, and then stood around and sang and prayed. And, it's a no greater joy kind of moment. And you're looking around that room and just appreciating everything about it, from the people that cared enough to come out to what's going on with this brand new Christian, and it's that kind of joy that a fellow Christian will understand.
Yeah.
And, we definitely want to befriend people in the world and reach out to them and influence them so they can have that kind of joy too. But they're not going to understand that.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't drop everything after 10 o'clock at night and come into the church building for something like that and then love it, love everything about it, because they just wouldn't understand.
Yeah. And we want them to. We'd love to introduce them to that.
Yeah.
But that is one of the neatest things when a new baby Christian walks out that door after a baptism, and there's this circle of people, and they look around, and especially someone that was not raised that way, someone that's come in from the world to see the stark difference between the world and the church. And when they look around, and someone usually will say, I want you to look around and see these people. We're your family now. We've got your back. We've got your heart. We're going to love on you. We're going to take care of you. We want to know what we can do to help you. We want to know what you need. We want to be there for you. And that's something that God intended. And I think you're right. We need to have more of that and do more of that and show more of that. So, love it.
Yes.
Thanks for bringing that up.
You're
Can
welcome.
you tell us any more about that baptism?
Well, it was a situation where we've had some people visiting at Lehman Avenue, and they were interested in placing membership, and the elders met with them and found out more about their situation and had a kind of a heart-to-heart with them. And, I don't know that they were really sure how it turned out, but a couple hours later, this woman called one of those elders and said, I want to become a Christian and I don't want to put this off. I don't want to risk waiting. And she had some physical limitations. And so it took a lot of courage for her to even maneuver the stairs. And I've talked about another one recently, but this is a different lady. And what kept going through my mind the most was, in her courage factor, is that she didn't know any of us really, because she was brand new. She had just been visiting, but she had to sort of humble herself and be willing to accept help from a lot of people that she didn't even know. And, and then of course, the physical maneuvering and what it took for her anyway. Her greatest fear, she said, is steps. And there's a few steps that you have to get up into to do the baptism, and then down the steps into the baptistry. But Neil and Jeremy were both in the water to help her down the stairs and help her into the water and to come back up. And when she came back up, first she looked a little fearful because it was kind of terrifying for her. But the moment her face just broke out into a smile was absolutely beautiful. I mean,
well, you shared a picture, and I've seen it, and I tell you, I've gone back and looked at that numerous times this week, and it brings tears to my eyes, not just because of the joy on her face, but the joy on Neil and Jeremy's faces too, and their smiles. And I mean, that picture just encapsulated Christianity, coming up out of those waters, and she's a new creation, and people are there to hold her up and support her and rejoice with her. It was just the best.
Well, and in line of our friendship talk here, so there's a handful of us, afterwards, standing in our little circle with her, singing a song, saying words of encouragement, having a prayer. And I'm just looking around that circle, just full of love for every single person in that group. And I'm not pals with all of them. I mean, but I love all of them dearly.
Yeah.
and just appreciated them so much for caring and being there, and the tenderness that they showed this woman and treated her like family and made her feel at home and comfortable. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's those kinds of occasions that just knit your souls together
Mm-hmm.
when you experience life like that. And, and the most wonderful moments that happen in the life of any Christian, and you get to do that together,
Yeah.
you just can't help but feel a connection, and that's
Mm-hmm.
family and it's love, and it's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah. And sometimes when those occasions happen, you have to, like you said, it was after 10 o'clock, and you have to get, maybe you're in your pajamas and you have to put your clothes back on and get in the
That's
car and
exactly
drive
what
30
happened.
minutes.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's not convenient. But when you do those hard things, hard, and it's not even really
Right.
hard,
No.
when you do those things, God rewards you with, like what you're talking about, that love in your heart, and that just to see and witness something like that, and to make that connection with fellow Christians is God's way of saying, do these things that are maybe not so comfortable, or not easy, and just see what happens. Yeah.
Well, and just knowing that they're so reliable in that way, you can count on them.
Yeah.
That they will drop everything and come.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 3 of our elders were in that circle, and you can count on them to love souls and love people.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's wonderful.
It's wonderful.
That's what elders are supposed to do, and that's what all of us as Christians are supposed to do. Well, that was a different discussion about friendship and what kills friendship, and being self-aware, and it kind of went roundabout weird ways, but I always enjoy talking to you about everything. So this was no exception. Do you have something good this week?
Yeah, something good for you to share. So mine is a homemade dusting spray. And do you dust?
What's that?
No, are you supposed to dust?
I need to go home and dust right now.
But typically I have Pledge and Old English, those kinds of things in my cabinet that I've used, but there's a lot of junk in those products, honestly, that aren't good for you. And it is so easy. I've just learned this. It is so easy to make your own. And it's just a matter of water and a little bit of white vinegar, which is a natural cleanser, all-purpose cleanser, a little bit of olive oil, which is conditioning and helps repel dust, and then your favorite essential oil.
Yeah.
And I like to use lemongrass for a few reasons. It's antibacterial, it's a natural insect repellent, and I love the way it smells. So, but you could change it out and use whatever you like, that you want your house to smell like. And it's really easy to make, and you just shake it up and spray it and wipe it down, and your house smells so good. And it's, ingredients that most people have on hand, and then you don't have to worry about what you're spraying or using in your house. So I will share the exact ratios of those ingredients in the group in the next week.
That sounds good. I was going to ask you in our pre-chat chat, and I forgot. Do you use those dryer balls from Revive and that essential oil that is, I think it's called something and tidy, clean and tidy, or something like that? It's the same brand that you like, but I wondered if you use those dryer balls.
I have dryer balls, but I don't have that essential oil.
Well, I'll send you a link and see what you know about it, because it was intriguing to me. I like things that smell good, but sometimes those dryer sheets, I don't know. I'm just curious about them. Well, my something good for you this week is the Whole Foods salad bar. And I don't think y'all have a Whole Foods there in Bowling Green, but we have one here in Denver.
Rub it in. I miss it.
Yeah, there's one here in Denver. There's several in Austin. I mean, there's more than one here in Denver, but several in Austin. So I know it's not just a Texas thing or a Colorado thing, but they just have different things on their salad bar that are really good. And like roasted broccoli, that's not something you see on just every salad bar. And they have butternut squash. I think it kind of changes depending on the season. They have different pasta salads, which, I have to kind of not load up on the bad stuff, because not to mention that they charge you by the weight. So when you add that heavy pasta salad in there, you jack up the price
more
of
money.
Your salad. But they have really good salad dressings. They have something they call paleo chicken, and I'm not sure what makes it paleo, but they have one the paleo chicken, and then sometimes they have herb roasted chicken that's really good. They have several different kinds of cheeses. It's just fresh. They have 3 different kinds of greens. They have mixed greens, they have romaine, and they have spinach. So basically you can just make whatever you like. And I don't know, we've just kind of gotten to where we'll go over there sometimes for lunch. And it's not a restaurant, although they have a pizza area where you can get a couple slices of pizza, and they have other hot foods and things. So
Sandwiches.
anyway.
Yeah, that was one of Neil's favorite places to go for lunch when we lived there. And we also liked it because right across from that, I don't know if it's still this way, was this great big wall of refrigerated drinks of all different kinds, lots of variety, lots of like sparkling juices and, just different kinds of things. So we'd always fix our plate and then fix like a really great drink, to enjoy with it.
Yeah, and they do have a place you can sit down, but we usually end up bringing it home. Yeah. So that's my something good for you this week. I always feel like mine are kind of weird, but.
Well, I did dusting spray. So there you go.
And mine's something to eat again, but typical. Anyway, well, it's fully dark outside now, and I am fully alone in this great big church building, and above my head, I think there's little critters sometimes that run around up there because I hear.
Oh, nice. Are you going to call John and have him escort you home?
Good. Yes, I am.
Okay.
He may even be downstairs. I'm not sure.
I bet he is.
Yeah.
He's a gentleman.
Well, he is. Well, I always enjoy talking to you, and I love you a lot, and I pray for you.
I love you too, and you're a good friend. Oh, you pray for me?
I do.
Yes, I know. You text me that often.
Yeah, and I do. That's something that someone said a long time ago. If you say you're going to pray for someone, pray for someone. Don't just say it and not do it. So that's been on my heart ever since then. Anyway, it's been good talking to you. And
as always,
we appreciate all of our listeners, and we love to hear from you. So in the Looking Up group on Facebook, we have one on Instagram that's a little harder for me to get to because it's tiny on my little tiny phone screen, but I try to keep things up to date on there. So we would love to hear from you if you have comments or questions or just anything you want to say about this topic. So get back to us. And until next, you have something else?
Well, I just remembered I wanted to ask people to subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
Now that it's at the end and nobody's listened this far. Let me just say really quickly, we have never encouraged that before because we have no intention of monetizing, and we still don't. However, if you would do us a favor, if you watch on YouTube, if you would subscribe to the channel, if you haven't already, or if you listen to the audio on some sort of platform, if you would follow whatever platform that is. And the reason is because the more of those we have, the more visibility we have. And we do want that. We do want more women to be able to listen, that women that might be searching for something along these lines, podcasts for Christian women. We do want the opportunity to invite more women to join us and listen in. So that would really be, you would really be doing us a huge favor if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing or following wherever it is applicable to you.
Yeah. Like us. We just want you to like us. We want to be friends. Okay. All right. Well, it's been good. And until next time,
keep looking up.
Okay. I love you.